So Public Service and Administration Minister Ayanda Dlodlo in 2018 warned that the public sector wage bill could cripple the state as salaries for public servants make up about 35% of government spending. In fact, 3 years later, corruption, nepotism and a bloated public service are still some of the thorny issues, if you like, that she'll have to deal with, as well as she returns rather to that portfolio after heading the state security department. Against that backdrop, the murder of Gauteng health official Babita Deokaran also raising concerns about the silencing and intimidation of public servants who may want to actually blow the whistle on corruption. For more on how she'll deal with these issues, let's bring in the Minister herself, Minister Ayanda Dlodlo, joining us via our video link. And Minister, it's great to have you on the program. Good morning to you. Thanks very much indeed for making time. I wonder if we can just begin perhaps with your reflections on the back of what I mentioned at the latter parts of that introduction, and that's the murder of Babita Deokaran. There's concerns around the chilling effect that this could have on potential whistleblowers even within the public service. Let me just begin by gauging what government's official stance is on that killing. Is it being seen as an assassination?
Well, there hasn't really been a reflection on whether it is an assassination or not. But looking at what has transpired over the last few months leading to her death, this has been carefully planned, and I would venture to say that this actually is an assassination.
I mean, there's people who've come out to say that it also could have been avoided. I think it was the SIU saying they had no idea, for instance, that Babita Deokaran's life was in danger, despite her being a key witness. What lessons is government taking from this experience?
Yes, it is. What the SIU actually is saying is true, because even from a public service and administration department perspective, the matter was never reported to the technical assistance unit, which looks into issues of ethical behavior, that also assists with matters of anti-corruption, and also as it works as a pipeline to ensure the protection of whistleblowers and witnesses in cases that are corruption related. So it is true. It was never reported to any of the bodies. But again, it would have been reported, through conversation with family and friends, and that should have come to the attention of government. I think it's also a matter of us being a little more vigilant and proactive, that rather than waiting for individuals to report that they are seeing or hearing or receiving death threats or seeing funny characters around their homes, that we should also be on the alert, because in our drive for the professionalization of the public service, which includes ethical behavior, we need to ensure that that provision is given, that when a person is a whistleblower on anything relating to their department, that some measure of protection or scrutiny needs to be given so that we avoid instances like this.
Yeah.
It might be a very difficult one for the police, it might be a difficult one for the Hawks and the NPA, but I think a starting point would be that even if we look at the high-profile cases and ensure that the State Security Agency does a threat assessment around all whistleblowers to ensure that the police have sufficient information for them to act on information that would be given as intelligence by the SSA.
Very quickly, my last point on this, Minister. Those who are within the public service watching what happened to Babita Deokaran and afraid of speaking out about what they know, what's your message to them about any potential protection they'd get if they were to step forward?
Yesterday, I was sitting at a table with the NDPP, Shamila, and we had conversations around this very matter, that we should truly look at deterrence to all of this, because as much as we can arrest as many people as possible, there are other issues that we need to look like ensuring that we do periodic lifestyle audits on all our people and those that surround them, so that we can then be able to determine where inexplicable wealth is coming from. And that would be one of the starting points. These lifestyle audits have been in the pipeline for for almost 3 years since the President Ramaphosa took office. We have been talking about these lifestyle audits. And I think it is the right time now that as we start to professionalize the public service, the lifestyle audits become a norm and not just an exception.
All right, let's speak about other issues potentially plaguing the department that you're now heading again, Minister. It was in 2018 where you said that the public sector wage bill could actually cripple the state as salaries for public servants make up 35% of government spending. The data is suggesting that the situation may have worsened. What's your assessment of this threat now?
The wage bill is way, way too high. It is almost at a point of unaffordability if it is not already unaffordable. And we are in conversations with unions in trying to find ways of dealing with this. One of the ways of dealing with this is looking at a wage setting mechanism and presenting a bill before Parliament together, having worked with the unions around this, to ensure that wage setting and also the indices that inform your increases, your COLA and other benefits that employees have. We really need to scrutinize all of that and ensure that whatever it is that we do in our recruitment also speaks to the type of skills that are required, because I'm the minister not for a department. I'm the minister responsible for public service administration, including the public sector, its norms and standards as well, become part of my responsibility. So it's not just the department, it's across the board looking at the public sector in general with regards to wage setting mechanisms, including recruitment practices, the provision of standards and norms in the public service to ensure heightened and quality service delivery, and also to go by the norms and the philosophy of a developmental state to ensure that we have with us in the way that we recruit, in the way that we perform, in the way that we manage human resources, and in the way that we dispense money in the public service is in line with the development of our people.
We know that government is also in the midst, or if you like, in the throes of a legal tussle with some unions in court about the 2018 wage agreement. You know, in some respects, one would imagine that government would have tried to ensure that this matter doesn't get to court, but we're there nonetheless. What does the strategy look like from the state about how to get out of what some people are describing as a mess?
Well, I must say that our conversations and interaction with the trade unions within the public service are continuing, regardless of the fact that unions are before court. We are before court. All that needs to be done is to find one another in this process and ensure that once a judgment has been communicated, we have systems in place to ensure its implementation, but also to take the unions along with us in ensuring that matters like this are avoided in the future. Because what happens typically is that services do get affected. The quality of services, the speed of the delivery of services do get affected in instances like this.
Minister Ayanda Dlodlo, that's the time we have this morning. Thanks very much indeed for your indulgence. Really do appreciate it. Ayanda Dlodlo is the Minister of Public Service and Administration. Once again, thanks very much indeed.